Hello everyone, we're just waiting for Gary to join us.
Boom! I'm in.
Hello!
Hello!
We're both in.
Are you right?
There's loads of hearts already on you,
You're
Gary.
a bit quiet. I'm going to need to turn you up a bit. My volume is quiet on my phone.
Oh, I can see Can you see me and hear me all right, Gary?
I can see you and hear you all right. Can you see and hear me? I've got my tiny glasses on so I don't get reflections from my light. There we go. But that means occasionally I'll peer down my nose like that to see what's going on. Oh, these lovely hearts. That's nice. Hello, everybody.
Loads of hearts already.
Oh, it's lovely.
Would be. Well, we've already got up to 22, 23. So if you just give it another minute and then we give people a chance to join.
I hope everybody well, this lovely warm. It's warm. I'm sitting in my summer house and the door's been shut all day, so I'm slightly roasting. But I may regret the decision, but the light's nice out here and it's quiet and slightly away from the children, so it makes sense to be here. But I've got the door open to let some air in, and I live quite close to Gatwick Airport, and for months all I've heard is birdsong, and now I'm hearing planes again. So if it gets noisy, let me know and I'll shut the door.
Okay. Yeah.
But hopefully it should be all right because the microphone's this way. So
I think it's fine. I mean, it looks good. There's your beer.
Cheers. I've been up to London and back today to do some work, so I treated myself to a beer because I think I deserve one. So
I think you do. So should we make an official start, Gary?
We may as well. If you're good for it, I'm good for it.
Absolutely. So welcome to everybody who is joining us on the call. As Gary says, very muggy night or evening. And my name's Kate. I'm the director of The Big Draw, and I am delighted that we have one of our wonderful ambassadors here today. And it's Gary Andrews.
Hello.
So how do we introduce you, Gary? Gary's one of those people that does a bit of everything. So artist, writer, illustrator, speaker, champion, ambassador, filmmaker, not forgetting actor. So I probably missed a few things as well.
General all-round busybody, jack of all trades, master of none, probably sums it up. Maybe Renaissance man, but Renaissance man, polymath. There we go. Which sounds like some sort of strange substance, but
we like a bit of a polymath.
Yeah. So
I'm just trying to think. So So Gary, I think you've been one of our ambassadors now for probably a few years already.
It's certainly a year and a half, coming up for 2 years now. I think. Yeah.
I'd say it's about 2 years. And for people watching, I think the way that Gary came onto our radar, and that's not to say that Gary didn't already have a very successful career, and I've got some little notes and we can start to thread out some of those things as we go through, as an artist, as a professional illustrator, designer, animator. But it was really, I think you got onto the Big Draw's radar, and from then we had the conversations, and then you got more involved as an ambassador. It was through the Doodleaday, wasn't it? That's where we first sort of met and started. We first connected, and then obviously it's run from there.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
Should we talk a bit more about Doodleaday, because it encompasses, I think, a lot of different aspects of your
work. Let's kick off with that. Why not? Yeah, there's, like you said, there's so many places to start. We may as well start where we met, as it were. So yeah. I mean, do you want me to sort of witter on, or would you like to sort of
do a bit of wittering, and then I'll jump in?
All right. Well, I mean, Doodleaday started about 4 years ago, I suppose, where I was. And some people apologise. Some people have heard some of these stories, but I draw every day for my job, and but it's all digital drawing, electric paper. I wanted to draw again, to sort of feel a pen in my hand and the scratch of the paper and the smell of the ink. So I decided to keep a diary, but rather than write a diary, I decided to do a daily doodle diary, and I would just sit down last thing at night and draw a doodle of something that had happened that day, or something that I'd noticed, or whatever, just my thoughts of the day as I unpacked the day last thing at night. And I would sit on the sofa in front of the telly with Joy, and I'd do a doodle, I'd show her the thing, she'd go, ha, 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 and then we go to bed. And that sort of tootled along nicely with my kind of 500 or 600 followers, on Twitter, people I know or whatever. And I put it out there just so it was kind of archived, And if I thought something was funny, I'd sort of let my friends know about it. And then the end of October 2017 was when my wife died suddenly from sepsis. And I kept drawing. I kept the doodles going. And suddenly the Doodleaday became something other than just a daily record of things that had amused me. It became a kind of self-therapy, a kind of way of navigating my feelings, the total upheaval of my life, processing the grief, finding myself a single parent. And it became a way at the end of each day to sit down and go, wow, what happened today? What things were in my head today that I need to kind of vent, to get out, to remember, whatever. And I would draw that and I would post it. Again, mostly so that my friends knew I was okay, or so that I had a record of it. So that's where Doodleaday began. But then what happened with that was that people started noticing it, and it touched a chord with people. And my profile went nuts, and then press got hold of it and media got hold, and it snowballed and you know, to where it is today, which is kind of mind-boggling and a little bit kind of surreal, but lovely.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean those beautiful, as you say, you were doing the doodles before, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been
doing after it happened as well.
About a year and a half before she died.
Yeah, I mean they are. I mean they're very beautiful. I think also, as you said, you're a father, a single father now. I've got 2 kids, and I think almost as a document, as a positive, creative document of that period, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of those things. It's a process and it's a document of that time, isn't it? In a creative way, that's something you can all look back on.
And well. We do. I mean, my children, especially my daughter, who's 12, coming up 13 now. She was 10 when Joy died. Sometimes she'll just pick one off. There's 12 books on the shelf now of these things, and she'll pick one off the shelf at random and start flipping through it and going, oh, that was that day we did the so-and-so. I remember that. And it's a lovely record for her to look back at her life, and little details that photo albums or family memories don't remember. This, because it's a daily detail record. It's a really nice way to look back, and hopefully one day when I'm long gone and they've got children, hopefully that these will be on a shelf somewhere in their house or whatever, and they'll be able to show their children and go, look, this is when Granddad did this, and this is when I was 12, I did this. And it'll just be because I intend to keep going until I no longer hold a pencil. I'm not going to stop. It's part of my,
of course.
I can't go to bed unless I've done my drawing now. It doesn't feel right.
I know.
So yeah, it's a record of a life. It's kind of like Diary of a Nobody, you know. It's sort of it's that thing of, I'm just me. I'm not anyone famous or special or different. I'm just happen to be able to draw. So I've got a record of that. So what it is, it's a record of one person's life who happened to have an unexpected tragedy or whatever, but which has given me perhaps a particular journey that kind of informs the route a little bit.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, especially now, nearly 3 years on, you know, quite often it's the banal. But then it was early on, even, it was the banal as well as the profound, if you like. You know, sometimes you have a deep moment of insightfulness about grief, and sometimes you just had a really stupid day where something silly happened. Both of those, I think, are important, and both of those are what people see from their own life, what they take away from it, I guess. It's like that, oh yeah, that we do that, you know.
I think that's it. I think that people recognise those things in their own lives. Those, those.
We live in the world.
Things, but it does, isn't it? But I mean, my father passed away 4 years now. But yeah, I mean, it's the small things that you notice and you remember, and then you see somebody else mirroring something, you think, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I get a lot of people from other people going through the grieving process who've either just lost people or lost people a while ago or whatever, who contact me and say thank you, because I couldn't put into words or explain to my friends what I was feeling, and I can show them this drawing and it really helped. And that is unbelievable. I mean, that sort of thing,
very powerful,
incredibly moving, but also I feel incredibly honoured that I'm in a position where I can actually do that for people.
Yeah.
And but it's also, we live in this world where there's so much social media, there's so much ways to interact with the world around us. But
here we go again.
I can see mine sitting outside the door with his back to me.
Gary, the thing is, he's not my cat. This is the 3rd time he's gate crashed one of these. He comes in through the old cat flat, and he comes upstairs, and yeah, he causes chaos, and it's not
Well,
mine.
I have the sort
My
of the
cat.
negative version of him coming in a minute. I've got a black one that might turn up. Yeah, we live in this world which is so interconnected with all this sort of social media and stuff like that, and yet it's quite an isolated world that we live in, and people can feel very much on their own, I think. And just to see little things in here, non-grief, just life related, that go, that's me. I'm not the only one that happens to. Oh, stupid little things, you know.
Yeah.
I think that helps. I think it's just nice for people to feel there are other people out there going through similar nonsenses, you know.
No, and I think when we spoke earlier, the way that you talked about it was that, you know, it informs your work and your practice, your creative practice, but it certainly doesn't define it.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. I mean, I can't escape the fact I am a widower. My wife died. You know, it's a thing that happened. It's not. I can't unhappen it. So, and who I am today is not the same person I would have been if that hadn't happened.
Yeah.
And what's happening in my life would not be happening if that hadn't happened. Therefore, grief and being a widower informs every aspect of my life. But I like to think it doesn't define who I am. It is a part of my life, as are my children, as is theatre, as is drawing, as, you know, there's a million things I do which are all part of my life, and the grief and that is part of that.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
The plane is that? Can you hear the planes? Is it too noisy?
Is it?
Can you hear the planes? Is it too noisy?
No.
Okay, that's good.
No.
For the first time in months, I'm noticing them. Probably because
I can't hear anything. Yeah,
okay.
Window open here, so there's always a bit, but no, it's fine. So okay, then. So picking it back on drawing and doodling, as I say, for people on the call, my experience of when I am with Gary in the real world is he is one of those people who is always genuinely doodling. He really is. He's always drawing. He's always scribbling. It's just like it's part of your psyche, isn't it, Gary? It's like part of your creativity. And you can almost see it getting pent up if you don't manage to.
I've got I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
It's an extension of who I am. Yeah, it's there in the hand, and if it's in my hand, it's going to start working. Yeah. And I've always got like a sketchbook in the bag, you know, and it's but this is a working sketchbook. So this one is one that I just noodle away in, you know, and I just sort of drawing pictures, just like, you know, you're just sort of, you may recognise what's
I recognise that.
Yeah. But, and then there was a drawing. This might come up a bit later what this is about, but it's just things like there must be one in here. Yeah, the other day I had a little break a couple of weeks ago. Went down to Devon and popped up to Dartmoor, and I was sitting up at one of the tours, and the kids went off for a bit of climbing, and I looked after the bags. So while they're climbing, I just sit and sketch the tour, you know, that sort of thing.
Oh, that's really similar to one I've just done about recently.
Yeah.
Up in Yorkshire. yeah, very similar.
Sit there and draw what I'm looking at, rather than, you know. Yeah. But that's the thing, and it's just, yeah, it just keeps the brain buzzing, really, you know.
I've just got a question from somebody that's saying, do you use pencil or biro? Biro was your medium of choice.
Biro is my medium of choice, indeed. In fact, I've got my the current biro is right here. It's a nice Parker.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Just a nice Parker biro, and yeah, it's quite weighty. I like quite a heavy biro. I like the pen. I like to feel the weight of the pen. So
yeah,
it's
that haptic connection.
With a nice, solid, very smooth bit to hold there, and that's the one. So a black biro is my. I do use pencil as well sometimes if I'm after a certain feel, but usually I'd use a pencil if the drawing itself had a function beyond me just drawing for myself.
Well, I mean,
if I'm doodling, it's biro.
Yeah, that was what I was going to talk to, because as you know, at the Big Draw, it's very much about this idea of visual communication, you know, drawing to learn, not just about learning to draw. And also in terms of drawing, you know, sketching, doodling, documenting, it could be drawing in a whole range of different fields or disciplines or spectrums. I mean, you know how we work, and
yeah,
often it's that feeling that in some way people still think that if they're doing a sketch or a drawing that it has to be for somebody else.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
Personal use. It doesn't have to be seen.
Honestly, the rocks there was just literally for me the process of drawing. I've got a load of other sketches in here, which are sort of preliminary sketches for some paintings I've been doing. I'm trying to quickly flick through and see if there's one that's literally just for me. I was doing a quiz night, and I can't even remember what I just ended up doing this sort of funny picture of a moose, but I don't even know why. And then oh yeah, I bought a new brush pen, so I just wanted to test it.
Yeah.
So I just drew a similar profile, but with 2 different pens to see how it reacted differently on the paper. They are for no other reason than just to draw.
Yeah.
And then
a lot of the people that we talk to and work with, they all talk about sketchbooks. It's you know, that they're using them in a range of different ways, but they are using them in the main to help them remember, help them document, help collate their ideas. You know, preliminary.
Doodleaday is that. This is the Doodleaday books, by the way. This is what they look like. They're these brown paper ones, and you know, they're memory books. I disappeared.
They're memory books, exactly that.
You know,
yeah.
And they're like a black.
Do you have the Curious Creatures sketchbook to hand? And if you do, would they be allowed to have a little peek in?
Is that one of the questions?
That was one of the questions. Yeah. They go quite quick, so you have to forgive me, everybody watching, because I'm not always.
This is the Curious Creatures.
Oh, it
which
looks sort of
a beautiful leather journal. It's got this stone in it, which you can see is sort of raised. It's got a little lock on the side.
Oh, yeah.
It's a archaic looking thing, and then you open it up, and on the inside, the first page, there was my first drawing. This is my Curious Creatures.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, it's obviously going to be backwards, but we'll still be able to see the.
Is it backwards for you? Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting.
I know, it's a weird thing.
This morning, actually, today was the day of the final drawing. I filled the book.
I saw that. I saw that on Instagram.
That was this morning's picture.
Yeah, and you regularly do series, don't you? I mean, you've done a few series for the Big Draw, so I was revisiting them earlier. So you obviously did the whole. Well, we did the Green Man.
I did the Green Man.
I think the Green Man, was related to a previous character, Hot Santa.
With Hot Santa, yeah. I haven't got any of
him.
He was a bit of fun that I did. It seemed to take off and people liked it, so I did some more. There may well be a calendar this year. Anyway, but then I did the Things That Spark Joy and the Simple Pleasures series.
That really linked in with our environmental.
Yeah. And the other thing that I did not long ago was a series of trees.
Yes, I remember the trees.
Drawing the trees and doing little faces.
I really like those.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I'm going to
really look closely. You know, you had to really take time over them a bit more.
But I'm probably going to put together a little book of these as well. There we go. So they were fun to do. I really enjoyed doing those. And then I went on from the trees to do the flowers as well. So I do these series, you know, where I quite like the idea. I mean, it's nice to do a series of drawings because it's nice to have a theme to work to, and because people enjoy them, and I get so many lovely messages from people saying, "Oh, I love it. I have my morning coffee, and I look at your drawings, and it just makes me smile." I think, God, I'm so lucky to have this gift I've been given of being able to draw, and the sort of brain that sees things in a kind of slightly quirky way.
It's just a bit of happiness around.
Time of a morning, I could do a little scribble, and it can bring a smile to people's faces. It's no effort for me, but it gives them a little perk up. Why shouldn't I do it just to say thank you for having this gift? So that's what I do, and for me, I love it because what happens is I come down in the morning and I do myself a pint of warm lemon water because I've been told by the doctor I need to cleanse myself because it's
supposed to be very good, isn't it?
Well, I was high cholesterol, so I was told I need to.
Fat, apparently.
So I have a pint of warm lemon water and I sit down with my book and I do that morning's drawing, and it kickstarts my hand and my brain for the day. It's like, right, I've done that. Now I go and have a shower, or maybe I'll do that, go for a run, have my shower, start my day. You know, so it's always the first thing I do. I come down, water, draw the next stuff. And it's good for me because it kicks me off, and other people, it makes them smile. So that's great. And then now I'm going to do little books of them as well, so people can have them as collections. And whenever I do these little books, I always do a percentage off to the Sepsis Trust, you know, because they're incredible, and you know, it's for joy. So I do that, and Yeah, I mean, it's a win-win, really. It just gives me an excuse to draw. So today I've finished The Curious Creatures. So I'm going to actually take the rest of August off. I'm going to give myself a little break just to read, because I'm very busy for the next 3 weeks. I've got a lot of stuff going on. So I need to sort of focus. But during that time, I'm going to start thinking about what my next series is. And then in September, I'll start my next series. I think I know what it might be. I was talking to a friend the other day, a really dear friend of mine, and we were chatting. And we came up with a concept, I think, between us. So...
Oh.
I'm not going to say what it is yet. I haven't totally pinned it down, but I think I know. So, yeah, starting in September, there'll be another
So
series.
we look forward to do some plotting with you around that.
And each one is different because, like, the simple closures and stuff were done in biro, and then the trees and stuff were done in like uniball and white on brown, and then the curious creatures were biro and watercolor. So each one has been a slightly different medium. Like I'm playing with different mediums just to sort of give myself the practice as well. So I'm not sure. It might be. I might carry on because I'm really enjoying biro and watercolor as a medium. I'm loving that.
I really enjoy those little splashes of color that you put into, like the little highlights. I think that really does.
Yeah. So I think I might carry on with that for the next lot.
Mm.
So cheers.
Yeah. I was going to. I'm thinking that maybe there might be on the call just thinking about how you got to where you are, Gary. So you did go to art college.
I did.
They did have that. That part was at least the sort of, there was a traditional aspect in go to art college.
There was.
But what came after that? I mean,
what came after that? Well, I mean, interesting. What came before that, if you like, was kind of like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Apparently, before my memory, my parents told me that I could hold a pen before I could walk, practically, you know, and I held it when they as a baby, and they gave me a pen. And I didn't do that. They gave me a pen, and
you held it properly.
I held it like that
I'll say properly, yeah.
Yeah, but well, from the way that you could actually control it, like from day one.
Yeah.
Apparently, and when I drew stuff, people went, "Oh, that's a so and so." So I had a kind of instinctive thing. So I was encouraged as a child to draw, and I had lovely art teachers when I was younger. Not so much at I went to private school, so at my prep school, when up till about the age of 11 or 12, I had a fantastic art teacher. She was really good, and she really encouraged me. I have to say, at my main school, sort of 13 to 18, not so much. Right. They didn't teach me anything, but it gave me time to practice with stuff.
Yeah, but you obviously did your, well, was it?
I did the O levels and A levels.
Yeah,
A levels, mate. But
you
they weren't
on that, and then
passed them, but they weren't good grades.
But you didn't start getting into art school.
But I just did things like the school magazine, and then I got into art school without having to get my exams. They accepted me before the results. I did art school. I did my degree. That came out fine. And then what happened is I fell into animation. When I was doing my degree, I was doing illustration, but I really liked making films. So I used to make films at the weekends with my mates. You know, we go out with the Super 8 camera and make stupid fantasy and action films at the weekend, running about in the woods with guns.
We can talk about that later.
Oh well, I've still been doing that.
Still do, yeah.
Still make stupid films, but I was doing all that, and it was kind of like I can't really do that as part of my degree. But there was an animation rostrum there, which one of the tutors knew how to load, but didn't know how to teach animation. But he knew how to load the camera. So I made some animated films at college off my own. I sort of got a couple of books, worked out how to do it, and made some films. So when I left college, I went around the animation studios with my stuff to sort of think, well, maybe I'll get a bit of design work. And I fell into animation. There was a studio I went into. Well, the first job I worked on for 3 weeks, I animated I in-betweened fireflies on Rupert and the Frog song. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh my goodness, I know that song, yeah.
The first job animation. Fireflies bottoms. It was 3 weeks on a job.
That is a claim to fame.
Well, the director of that is still a friend of mine. And
on your CV, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I left there and I went around, did some design work, and then I went into a studio and the director looked at my sketchbooks, looked at my little film, and he was like, "Yeah, okay. Would you like to come and sit in for a month? One of our guys has got to go to hospital. We've got a spare desk. Do you want to come in 3 weeks while he's away and just sort of learn on the job a bit?" I went, "Yeah, great." And I went in and he threw me in at the deep end and I started doing it. And I found I had a natural aptitude for animation and being mentored by somebody who knew what they were doing. That 3 weeks turned into 3.5 years in that studio. and then I left there, went freelance, and I've been freelance ever since. And I've just meandered through animation as the sort
I mean,
of.
and you've worked on quite a few well-known titles and
Uh,
you.
I did hundreds of commercials back in the day. I mean, those people that are old enough to remember things. I did some of the Weetabix stuff. I did some of the Skoll with Hagar the Horrible. I did all sorts. And then I did a spell with, we had a company called Disney Movie Tunes over here. I worked on a film called DuckTales the movie, and some stuff for Disney. So I did my spell with Disney. I've worked on Wind in the Willows, animating to Rick Mayall's incredible voice for Toad. The Beatrix Potter films, you know, the Peter Rabbit and stuff. I did some of that. Yeah, I was very lucky. I got some lovely jobs, and it was a really good time. The late 80s, early 90s was a fabulous time to be in animation. There was a lot of nice stuff happening, and then I kind of drifted into just different areas. I suddenly found myself storyboarding and directing little pilots and stuff, and then I suddenly found myself, you know, directing series and things. And so now I'm officially a animation director, you know, and direct series and things. And it's great, you know. I mean, what a job! I'm so lucky. It's a real privilege, and you get to work with fantastic people, and you work with funny actors and great artists and terrific writers. It's just doesn't feel like work. I'm very lucky. So that's the main wage. And then alongside that, I've always illustrated. So I've done lots of books, educational publishing, kids books, and then for over 35 years, God, jeez, I've been illustrating the Sylvie Krin cartoons in Private Eye. Yeah. So I've been very lucky. I've got a very varied career.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were in front of her, but I mean, because you know that in terms of what's happening in the education sector in terms of arts and creativities and where the emphasis is being put these days, which is certainly not on creative subjects, unfortunately. I don't know, if you were in front of a bunch of, I don't know, 14-year-old kids, secondary school, what would you say to them? I mean, in terms of, you know, what you managed to do, and in terms of, you know, if you know you enjoy doodling. You were saying earlier that, you know, you didn't necessarily, you know, you didn't necessarily get like the best. It wasn't 5 A stars getting into.
Not at all. You
were creative, you know. You were.
Yeah, I just drew.
Energy. What would you say to those?
I would say draw what you love. If you enjoy drawing, draw. If you like copying, copy. Copying's a great way to learn. People have done it forever. You don't think people like Rembrandt just came out. They copied. They worked with other people. They learned.
I think all artists say that it's so difficult anyway. There's so much. Art history is all.
Classically, you would copy other artists to learn how to draw. So if you see something you like, if you like manga, anime, copy that. If you like Marvel type stuff, copy that. If you know, whatever you love, copy it. If something comes from you, draw. There's no such thing as a bad drawing. That really goes, oh, this is rubbish. I go, no, it's not rubbish. It may not be what you wanted to achieve, but it's a step. It's a learning part of the process. Don't discard it. Don't keep that so you can look.
Yeah, I know. I have one of those, you know, like seriously, it's one of those things that haunts me. It's so silly, but I think it was at a park. It was a few years ago when I was definitely working at the Big Draw, and I was at a park with my kids, and there was a little girl. She was probably only about 5, and she had drawn. She was sitting in the park. She didn't want to go on swings. She was sat down and she was drawing, and I remember her because I noticed it. I thought, oh, that's lovely. You know, I'm the director of the Big Draw. Isn't that lovely? She's doing a nice drawing in the park. And her mother came over, and her mother said, "That's really," and she was quite sweary, so you know, blah blah blah. Said a few things which I thought were inappropriate for a 5-year-old. And then she picked it up, and in front of the class, she ripped it up into pieces, and she put it in the bin.
No.
Honestly, my partner was having to hold me back. I was like, oh,
when my children do a drawing for me, you know, do a drawing or whatever.
I couldn't believe.
I've done this. What do you think? I will never go, oh, it's lovely. Oh, well done. I will say.
No, you can give construction.
That's good. I think you can do better.
Yeah. Because
what you've done there is this. Why don't you try it again?
Yeah.
That. Why don't you try so and so? And they'll go, oh, and they will. They'll do it again, and then they'll show me it, and I'll go, see what I mean? And they'll go, yeah. Oh, yeah. I said, but don't throw the other one away. Keep it, or whatever. Eventually, we'll recycle it or whatever. But you know, don't just go, that's crap, because it's not. It's a step on a process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, it's just, so I would say to those 14-year-olds, you know, just be open to any influence, be open to any experience, try everything, try it all. You throw enough stuff, something will stick eventually. And do it from the heart as well. Do what you love. You know, if you don't like doing a certain thing to draw, don't draw it. I mean, I love drawing people and animals and nature things and stuff. I'm terrible at drawing things like cars and vehicles or buildings. I'm learning to fall in love with buildings a bit, but that, you know, because they have a bit of character sometimes, especially old buildings. But I like organic stuff. And I really struggle with non-organic things to draw. I have to as part of my job, and so I make myself draw them when I have to. But I'll never draw one for pleasure.
Yeah.
But draw what you love and love what you draw. You know, and enjoy the process. And if nobody sees it, who cares? It's the doing that matters, and the doing just makes you feel good. And really, just noodling it down. Look,
have to be about anybody else. I think one of the things that we've talked about before, and it's come up on quite a few of these sort of Instagram lives and just in conversation with lots of people regularly, this whole analog digital conversation that's an ongoing thing really, in the wider drawing community, I would say.
Yeah.
There will always be some that are saying, oh no, it must only be digital, and there are others who will always say, oh no, analog only, blah blah. I mean, my personal view is it's both, and I've just seen Narinda's joined, and I think he would probably agree with me that it's both. But there are different people who do it. And I know that you have talked about digital for you is more about work.
Yeah.
And the pen and pencil, the biro, paper is more
digitally for pleasure.
Yeah.
I draw digitally for my job because you've got an undo button, you've got layers, so you've got to get it right, and also because you've got quick deliveries and you don't need things to dry, because I'm not a fine artist, I'm a commercial artist, so you've got to do a drawing, it's got to get there. So I do it digitally, I can draw it, but I draw digitally in programs that look analog. I use Sketchbook. If I'm noodling for myself or as a thought, I might use Procreate on my pad occasionally as a sort of work. But for drawing, I use Sketchbook and Photoshop. Those are the two things I use in conjunction with each other.
Yeah.
But the finished drawings kind of look like they've been drawn.
They've got that aspect.
Use the pens and the brushes that have a realistic quality about them, because I want them to fit, and they have pressure sensitivity, and I don't draw vector, I draw bitmap, I draw things that are drawings. For myself, you know, for all this stuff, it's analog. For my pleasure, it's analog. For myself, for my soul, it's analog. For my wallet, it's digital.
Presumably, as you say, for the wallet side of things, you know, if you've got a client and they give you a brief, you know, there might be things within that brief, that aspects of it that are more exciting than others, and yet if they're the client, that's the client, and you have to go on and do the brief. It's not the same as
job. I have to go,
creative series.
I'll draw it because that's what they want, and that is my job. Yes, there are days when what you are drawing, you might go, oh, this is not something I would be drawing for pleasure, but I am drawing, and that gives me pleasure. If I'm ever having a day when I'm sitting there and I'm having a whinge, oh, I'm drawing this horrible thing, I then have to go, hold on, I'm drawing.
Well, hopefully you can say they're paying you some good money, at least.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not doing a life-threatening job. I'm not doing a horrible, I am doing a thing I love. The thing I'm drawing might not be something I like necessarily, but I'm doing a thing I love, and I have to sometimes remind myself how lucky I am about that sort of thing. Because you know, naturally we're going to have grumpy days, and I might be going,
especially over the last few months. I've certainly
although you know what I mean, the thing that's happened to me over the last few months is I had a bit more time because we haven't been able to go out, so I've had a bit more time at weekends, and I've rediscovered painting. I love painting. I always loved it, but I'd never done it for ages. I mean, you know, kids and time, blah, blah, blah. And I decided, right, to hell with it. I ordered myself a load of new paints, a new easel, loads of canvases, and I have been painting. I was doing that Portrait Artist of the Year stuff. I started doing our own, and then they started doing Portrait Artist of the Week. So I started doing that, and then I started painting. I did one for you guys, didn't I? I've got it. Here's one I prepared earlier.
Yeah, how have you got it?
Yes, there he is.
Oh yay! Yeah. And can you see, Gary? Can you see that I'm channeling I am channeling the green man in me today.
It's lovely.
Channel the green power.
But so I painted him, and yeah, and then I decided I'm doing a series at the moment. I'm doing a series of 12 paintings that are kind of elemental nature spirits, if you like, and I'm doing a set of paintings. I'm loving it. I've got one here. It's too big to fit into the. I'm going to move my camera slightly. I'll come back to it in a minute. God, it's all going to fall apart.
I mean, I think the painting in terms of the development of your own practice is a really interesting one. And I mean, I know we're going to be talking a bit more about that, aren't we, Gary, over the next few weeks?
Yes, I think so. But yeah, so yeah, it's and that's like a water spirit, a water. It's called a naiad, which is a water spirit. So I had a series of friends who sort of. In fact, that's interesting. I did in my little sketchbook here. I'll bring that a bit closer again. In that sketchbook we were looking at earlier on. I'll see if I can find the working drawing. Yeah, there it is. I had that sketch and I sent that to my friend and said something like that. And then she sent me a photograph of that pose, and then I did the painting based on that. So that's what's great about this is this is what this book is. It's a practical sketchbook. So that's not a beautiful drawing.
No, but I mean, exactly.
The idea and this is a book of ideas. So that's the thing about sketching. It was like, oh, I've got this thing in my head. Let's get it on there. And now it's become a painting. And then that's going to be hopefully something we'll talk to people about more in the next few weeks. But
and I mean, is it fair to say that, I mean, because you obviously very kindly did the whole the Green Man character for us, and for anybody on the call hasn't seen it, do check it out. It's on I think it's probably on both of our websites. But I mean, you did a whole series of situations that he put himself in, a sort of a hunky,
yes,
a sort of a hunky
mascot
or chaste hot Santa. I don't know.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
They haven't had a buff off yet. They will at some point. I think I don't know if I did one officially, but we need to do one where they meet, don't we?
Yeah, but I think is it fair to say, because you know that a long time ago, we've talked about it before, probably about 30 years ago, one of my first degrees was I was quite interested in the whole sort of Green Man mythology anyway, and literature and all the associations, and there are lots of close associations with that, and nature, environmentalism, and being better connected to the harmony between man and nature. And without wanting to sort of come over all hippy dippy, I mean, lots of those are strong aspects of the Big Draw's current theme this year, and I think that's one of the reasons why I think that the Green Man
told me this year's theme, and I started noodling around ideas of him, and I came up with 3 or 4 versions and started to hone in on one that I was particularly fond of. And then we found the one we liked, and once we found the character we liked, suddenly all these ideas started coming up for him, and he became this mascot, this symbol of some of the aspects of the theme. And it was, wasn't it? It was very organic, which again is appropriate. He's a fun character, and I think I have a feeling there's more to come with him yet as well. I mean, I've got some ideas for him, so in fact I need to talk to you afterwards about some ideas I've got for him. So
I mean, we're always open to loads of ideas, and I know that you will have some good news. We can't tell anybody at the moment, but I know that you'll have some good news.
If people watch this space, watch this space. There are some teasers coming out at the end of this week and over the weekend, but on Monday I do have quite a big announcement. I'm not allowed to say what yet.
Anybody watching, check out.
I do have quite a big announcement.
Website and social media spaces.
I'm so tempted because I've got something.
No, you can't. You said.
But I can't. But
we feel very privileged to know. Just, but it's going to be great.
Once we're off air, Kate, I need to show you something.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
but yeah, we are. Yes, there's something exciting happening on Monday. So yeah, watch this space, everybody.
Watch this space, yeah. And I mean, there's lots of other things that we're plotting and planning, isn't there?
Oh, we are being, secret squirrel and very sneaky about a few things. But we've got some things up our sleeve and a couple of other things that up my sleeve, which I haven't even shared with Kate yet. So, but yeah, it's all good. This is an ongoing partnership between us. I think I was so honoured when Kate asked me to come on board with you guys, and I've loved every minute of it, and I have to admit, it's one of my favourite things to do. I love being involved with this. So
thank you, Gary. That is so kind. Honestly, it's so kind. It is like all charities. It's sometimes a bit of a slog, and I think these are the best bits, really. You know,
oh,
it's lovely working with people like you, and then I've seen a few. We've got Willie. Willie's been coming to everything. So lovely. Hello, lovely Willie, and lovely Narinda. Oh, Wilson's here. It's so nice that you see these people that are coming through and taking part and getting involved and talking to them, and it's fantastic.
I am Cameo Girl. I am Cameo Girl. Any tips for beginners who want to improve their drawings? Okay. Well, observe, look, and when you think you've looked, look some more at stuff, and draw. But don't rub stuff out. All right, that's an important one for me. Okay, if you want to improve your drawing, okay, drawing is not about a beautiful finished drawing. Okay, that's not what it's about. It's about getting what's underneath correct. Okay, that's what I think is important. So use maybe a light blue or a light pencil, and sketch shapes of what you can see. I'm assuming, I mean, for me, it's people or animals. It might be whatever, but sketch the overall shapes. And then over that, in a different pen or a darker pen or whatever, start drawing more detail. But keep the rough drawing underneath so you can see what you did. Eventually, the rough drawing underneath eventually happens in your head. So, for instance, my Doodleaday, and the trees and stuff like that. So, like these, for instance, these things, there is never any sketching first. I go straight in with the pen. Okay. And if there's a mistake, in inverted commas, I'll incorporate it into the picture. With the curious creatures, let's see if I can see one where it shows. With the curious creatures, I would sketch them out. It's very hard to see because I did it so faintly. But I mean, I would, for instance, there's one. I would very, very, very faintly in a blue sketch pencil sketch out the rough shapes. Yeah. But then I would go in with the biro and just let the biro do its thing, and it's quite loose. If you actually look carefully, it's kind of loose. I want to try and find one that really shows you just how loose the drawing is. I mean, look at that one. Okay. I mean, it's pretty loose drawing. You know, the fur is just lines. There's nothing beautifully detailed. It looks like they're detailed, but they're not.
I think there's a real confidence in that looseness. I think that.
Yeah, I mean that comes with the fact
it does come with a lot of experience. I think.
I'm old and wrinkly, and I've been doing it.
It's quite hard to draw in the loose. I think most people draw quite tight if they're not.
And going back to I am Cameo Girl who asked me that question. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Yeah, you give me a little heart. That's lovely. I'm glad it helped. That's the thing that's important, is learning to be loose is really important. I mean, let's go back to this book here. The sketches for the paintings, for instance, that I'm doing. I'll try and show you another one. I haven't got any other paintings in here with me, but for instance, oh gosh, where are we? Well, this is one I've done this painting, but I mean, look how loose that is as a drawing. Right? That's really scribbly and sketchy, but you can see what's going on in it. What media have you drawn and painted those lovely pictures? Oh, so Beanie, do you mean these pictures? Are you talking about the ones in this book? If you're asking what medium these are done in, they're done in biro and watercolor. If you're asking about these ones, that's acrylic. So those are the two things I mainly work in. Yes. Yes. And
to one question as well, Gary, that I've written down. I think it's quite interesting. I think it might be from Beanie as well. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but whoever it's from, I think it's a pretty interesting one. So it's asking for sort of tips how to get into illustration as a career. But I think that the footnote on that was specifically, I think this individual might have a science background. Right. I mean, just to say, Beanie, that we know loads of people at the Big Draw have got a science background and work in illustration. Yeah. I mean, the Big Draw works cross-sector anyway, so we very, very regularly work with scientists and physicists and mathematicians and engineers who are all drawing. So it's not unusual at all. Do you have any tips, Gary, for somebody who's obviously in a different sector and speaking, they want to make that that leap over, and maybe it's a confidence thing, or how do they, what would be their first steps? How might they approach
Well,
it?
the first step is to make sure you're drawing, and to make sure it's what you really want to do, because there's a lot of people out there doing it, and it's not an easy thing to get into to make it a career.
It's competitive, isn't it?
It's competitive. It's so varied. It's so subjective. I am, and I pinch myself daily. I am incredibly lucky. I have been so lucky in my life, in my career, to have the career that I've had, to be able to put a roof over my head and food on the table by doing something I love so much. It takes my breath away on a if I stop and think about it too much, it's kind of scary, because if suddenly people stopped, I can't do anything else. So I'd be rubbish. So I'm incredibly privileged to be in this position. And I started in this job in the dark ages. So, I mean, things are so different now. I fell into it, and I knocked on a lot of doors, and I showed my portfolio to a lot of people. I think, okay, if you're really interested in getting into it as a career, A, make sure that's what you really want. B, draw a lot, so that drawing becomes second nature, so it's not a hard thing.
Yeah, we're both trying to read it, aren't we? Any advice for a young guy breaking into the freelance role? I've recently had my first few clients. Would love to keep the ball rolling.
Kind of a similar question in a way.
Yeah.
So make sure you're drawing all the time, so that the drawing part of the job is not the bit you have to think about. That's so important. It's the thing I actually say, you know, when a job comes in, you know, whatever, and I'm doing a thing, people get quite frustrated when I go blah blah blah, and the rest is just drawing. But for me, the drawing bit is the bit I have to think about the least. Sometimes it's the thinking or all the other stuff that goes with it that's the hard stuff. But you need to get yourself in a position where you're comfortable enough with your drawing that the drawing is not the bit that's the problem. If you want to do it as a career, that's important. If drawing is kind of like an angst thing that you have to do, and it's like, oh, and I have to feel the moment and I have to do the thing, then you need to be a fine artist, right?
That's interesting.
Yeah, you need to be able to go, someone says to you, I need this thing drawn by that and I need it by Thursday. You go, yeah. And draw. So that's important. The other thing is, be prepared for failure. Be prepared to knock on an awful lot of, you know, or even digitally these days, knock on an awful lot of doors. Be prepared for people not to understand what you're trying to do for them. Be prepared to work for clients that don't know what they want until they see what they don't want.
And I suppose the question added on from that from me, Gary, because obviously there's been a lot, hasn't there, recently about freelancers and, to be honest, a bit of a crap deal in terms of what's been going on. But in terms of freelancers starting off, I think it's very easy when they're at the beginning of a career as a freelancer, to be honest, to be taken for a bit of a ride. So, you know, if there's a brief, so almost they're putting in more and more and more and more time. They're not being paid for that time, and
be strong enough.
Ideas and
be strong enough not to have the piss taken out of you by somebody. Oh, we want you to do this job, right? Oh, we can only pay you this much money. Oh yeah, I'll do it because I need the work. You've got to value yourself to a certain. You've got to find a point at which you say, no, I'm sorry, that's not worth my time. Don't let them take the piss, because they'll just keep doing it, and it devalues you and it will devalue others. If you are a professional and you want to see yourself as a professional, you must actually give yourself a value and not drop below that. I'll give that a caveat. If a job is particularly exciting and you think, I would love to do that, then say, yeah, okay, I will do that, because I feel it will further me as an artist. I can afford to take that one on at a loss, if you like, because it will be good for me. But do it. But never do a job because someone has said, because it's just there as a job. Okay, find your own worth in yourself and stick to that. And that is easy to say and hard to do.
Yeah. I think we hear this a lot. People are telling us like really quite horrible stories, and one of the line that comes out a lot is, oh well, we've only got X, Y, and Z in the budget, so actually we're probably only going to be paying you for a fifth of your time. But hey, you know, this is going to be a great opportunity for you. And
oh yeah, yeah.
All of this and that.
Just that straight away. Yeah. this is a great opportunity for
They
you.
need you.
Someone says to you,
You
this is
need
a
them.
great opportunity for you. All that means is we're taking the piss and we're not going to pay you what you're worth. Okay.
Yeah. Totally agree. And it just shows that they need you a lot more than you need them.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the thing. One of the things I do these days, especially because you know, after 35 years in this business, whatever it is, more.
We don't think about our age, Gary.
Nearly 40 years in the business. When people says, how much is that? I still go, that still makes my heart go, oh. So what I say to people is, what's your budget? And if they say, oh, we've got X, Y, Z, I'll say, can you squeeze any more? Or whatever. I'll ask the question, that's okay, but could you manage? If they say no, I'll say, right, that's your budget. That buys this much of my time. Yep. You will get what you're paying for. And then usually, quite often, because I just enjoy it, they'll end up getting a little bit more. But I won't sort of go, okay, they're only paying that, but I'll still do this because, you know, whatever. I say, if you're paying,
set the bar for
that's
this,
what you're going to get.
They might get a little bit more rather than, oh, it's up here and then they're going to have it's from here to here. So it does make a difference.
It does. So I throw it back at them usually these days. How much does that cost me? I don't know. What's your budget?
Yeah.
And I'll work.
I think if they haven't given I see that a lot as well on commissions, and I think it's really bad practice. I think they'll put a brief out there. The client will put a brief out there, and they'll say, "This is the nature of the work. You tell us how much it's going to cost, and what you can do it for." It's like no. You tell us what you say. What the budget is.
I have a kind of in the back. I have a baseline day rate in the back of my head.
Yeah.
I need to earn this much a day to put the food on the table. So if someone says we want this, what is it? I'll go and they really don't know. I'll say, well, it's X, because I think, right, that's going to take me a day. Boom, that's your money. If that's absolutely a thing, I would rather them say, we've got this. And if their money is less than your day rate, you go, okay, I'll do it. But I'm only going to spend the morning on it. Yeah. Or if I offer you money that's 3 times your day rate, you go, right, I'll take 3 days to do it. You know, and you can find your own medium. So it's not easy. The hardest thing about this job isn't the drawing, it's all the other crap that goes. Definitely. But it's a lovely way to make a living, and every single day at some point in that day I sit there and go, wow, people pay me to do this. I'm so lucky.
Willie's just said, and if someone takes you round and round in circles, charge them for it.
Bloody right, yeah. Absolutely. At the end of the day, don't forget, this is your job. It's the job.
Yeah, but I think that happens so much with artists. It's like, oh, that's not a real thing. It's like, no, this is the time. This is my time that you'll get your.
And also, the tricky thing is when you're a freelance, early in your freelance career, you know, you almost feel like you haven't earned the right yet to sort of charge whatever. You have to set yourself right. When you've been doing it as long as I have, sometimes you might say, oh, that's going to cost you X, Y, Z or whatever. And people might think, isn't that a bit high? Is it for just that? You say, you're not paying for 5 hours of my time. You're paying for 40 years of my life plus those 5 hours.
And all the prep and everything else. And
if I hadn't had those 40 years, that 5 hours would take me 10 hours.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting a good deal.
Yeah.
So the longer you've been doing it, the more you feel justified maybe. But don't let that put you off when you're younger, not charging what you're worth. I think and only you can decide what you're worth, but don't undervalue yourself. What a long rambling answer to that question, but thank you for the question.
Who was it that asked? I forget who asked.
It was a while back.
I think it's a big deal. I think it's such a big thing at the moment because of everything that's going on.
It's
in COVID, that and freelancers really are not.
And also, there's websites out there. Oh, £5, we'll design your logo, and you go.
Yeah, yeah, we should maybe do a whole session just about freelancers and valuing themselves and getting the right value for what they're worth and fees and all the rest of it. Yeah. I am conscious of the time, Gary, because I know that we will.
I think we've got about 5 minutes before Instagram chucks us off.
Yeah. If I came on at what time did I come on? A minute before, 2 minutes before? So probably
I think according to my clock, we actually started about a minute or two after.
Okay. Oh, 5 minutes. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Right. We've got 5.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes left. I'm just going to go through my notes. We've covered a lot between us, and just to say to anyone, we can always do a follow-up, can't we, Gary, if people want us to...
Listen, talking about myself, darling, I mean, I'll do that till the cows come home.
We can do it again, I mean,
do another. anyone's
Got
got questions,
our Shakespearean outfits on next time, because Gary does acting as well, everybody. We can do that next time.
we could dress up. I could keep disappearing and then coming back as a different character.
Okay, so the sensible stuff.
Oh, yes.
So we've talked about sketchbooks, careers, illustration, Doodleaday, getting started, your journey. Gary, have we done a bit of your journey?
Bit of my journey.
Yeah, done a bit of your journey. We've talked about Hot Santa and the grieving. We've talked about things that spark joy. We've talked about grief. And I don't want to put that on the list of long things, but the point being with that it has, I think, massively informed your work and your practice. But as you've said very clearly, it absolutely doesn't define your work. But it has,
I agree.
brought a whole load of creativity and perspective and insight to it, and empathy to it.
Yeah, and I've talked a lot, so it's actually made me more confident talking about a lot of other subjects.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of the wonderful legacies of Joy, my wife. The legacy of her dying is being able to share how drawing can mean to other people, and you know, I am. This wouldn't be happening if that hadn't happened. So this is part of her legacy. So I thank her. And
I think that she would be. I think she'd be incredibly proud of you, very proud of your children, and I'm sure your children are very proud of you as well. And
they probably are. They wouldn't let on, but I think they are.
And I know you rope them into stuff like I do with my kids. I think Sandra's telling me I have to wrap it up. Let me just.
Yeah, you're on TV. You'd be getting that now.
Yeah, I think I'm getting a.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. It's been lovely to have all your questions. If you've got any more, send some more in, and we'll try and do a follow up.
Yeah, should we try and do a follow up in September? Because I know
that'd be fab.
Should we try and do something then?
I'd love it.
So thank you to everyone. Yeah, so ask anybody, send your questions to Gary, send them to us, and keep in touch. Sign up to the mailing list on both sides. Don't forget, Gary's got some exciting news coming up on Monday, Tuesday next week.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Right, we're going to sign off, and then Kate, you can call me again. You can WhatsApp me or something after.
I'll give you a ring now. Yeah.
All right.
All right then.
Bye bye. Let me see you.
Thank you.